Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely.
So it's this English learning podcast called Daily Money Briefing.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
It's actually pretty cool. You get the
Yeah.
financial news and kind of a language lesson all in one.
Oh, I like that. Sort of killing two birds with one stone.
Exactly. We're here to really pull out the key nuggets from the latest global shifts for you.
Hmm.
Today, we're getting into some big moves in trade, tech governance, and corporate accountability.
Yeah, lots happening.
Our mission really is to give you that shortcut, the essential info, maybe a few surprising bits, keep it interesting.
And what's striking is how these different areas, trade, tech, corporations, they often echo similar challenges, right? Balancing growth with risk, ensuring proper oversight. It's a global theme.
Definitely. Okay, so let's jump right in. Asia first. President Trump announced this new trade agreement with Vietnam. It's a 20% tariff on all Vietnamese imports. It sounds like a lot, but it's way down from the 46% threatened earlier.
A big drop, yeah.
So what's the real story? And I'm looking at this other part. A 40% tariff on goods routed through Vietnam from other countries. What's that signal?
Well, that 40% is pretty telling, isn't it? It's clearly designed to stop trade circumvention.
So preventing goods from, say, China just being rerouted.
Exactly, preventing that backdoor route. But the lower 20% for direct Vietnamese goods suggests, the U.S. wants to treat Vietnam differently than some other regions facing much higher tariffs previously. It's a bit of a balancing act. Cooperation, but with guardrails. More nuanced than just a simple economic bloc.
Okay, interesting. So keeping Vietnam as a distinct partner, but closing loopholes.
That seems to be the gist of it, yes.
All right, let's switch gears. Tech. Over to South Korea.
Oh.
There's been a pretty surprising move on their AI Basic Act.
Yeah, I saw that. A delay.
Exactly. The National Planning Commission and the Science Ministry pushed back key regulations by 3 years.
Yeah.
They were meant to start next January. So
Yeah.
did big tech just win this round? Why the pause?
That's pretty much it. There was significant pushback, concerns raised by South Korean IT companies, yes, but also the big U.S. tech players.
Oh, okay.
They basically argued that the strict rules planned, especially for what they call high-impact AI.
What does that mean, high impact?
It covers AI systems needing prior notice, inspections, certifications, that kind of thing. The argument was these rules would stifle innovation, maybe hurt the local AI scene just as it's getting going.
So speed over safety, for now.
Well, the Act's overall goal is still to boost the AI industry and manage risks. It separates high impact from general AI, and it still mandates watermarking for synthetic content, deepfakes and the like.
Right.
But this delay, it definitely signals a shift, maybe temporarily, towards prioritizing promotion and development speed. Let the industry run a bit freer for a while.
Got it. Okay, staying in South Korea but moving to corporate stuff. The National Assembly has made some really quite significant changes to their Commercial Act. Strengthening corporate governance seems to be the aim.
Yes, some potentially very impactful reforms there.
I mean, things like explicitly stating directors owe a fiduciary duty to shareholders, not just the company entity itself. That feels big.
It is. It fundamentally changes who directors are primarily accountable to. It empowers shareholders, especially minority ones.
And then there's the 3% rule. This usually limits big shareholders' voting power when picking internal audit committee members, right? To prevent undue influence.
Correct. A standard safeguard.
But now they're applying it to electing outside directors, too, and reclassifying them as independent directors who need to be properly autonomous. Plus, boards need more of them, at least a third now.
Exactly. These changes, taken together, are really about pushing for genuine independence and accountability on corporate boards.
How so? What's the practical effect?
Well, extending that fiduciary duty directly to shareholders means directors have a legal obligation to consider their interests, not just the vague company's interest, which can sometimes align too closely with management or founding families.
Okay.
And applying the 3% cap to outside directors, plus requiring more of them to be truly independent, makes it much harder for controlling shareholders or entrenched management to dominate the board.
Right, so it dilutes their power.
It aims to, yes. It's about ensuring decisions genuinely benefit all stakeholders. It could improve transparency, unlock value, and make South Korean companies maybe more appealing for international investment, aligning them more with global standards.
So wrapping this up then, we've looked at trade deals, AI rules, corporate structures, quite a range. But what's the common thread here?
I think the thread is that nations everywhere are wrestling with these really complex interconnected issues. How do you foster economic growth, manage the risks of new tech, and ensure businesses operate fairly and transparently?
All at the same time.
Precisely. These aren't just isolated policy tweaks. They feel like part of a larger, ongoing adjustment to, well, a rapidly changing global landscape. A kind of forward-thinking response, even if the steps seem cautious sometimes, like the AI delay.
Okay, so a final thought then, for you listening. How might these shifts we've talked about in trade policy, tech regulation, corporate rules, things that seem quite distant, maybe how might they eventually ripple outwards? Could they influence your industry, your investments, maybe even your daily life in ways we don't expect yet? Something to think about.
Definitely something to watch.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.